All right, we're on. Hey, yo, my boys, I'm back. I'm Cody Austin. You probably know me because I've streamed a couple times. And like the same two people tend to show up. I guess we got a couple more now. Maybe new people. I think we have one guy who's been here before that's actually here right now. I'm gonna give people like a minute to show up. We're just doing Malthusian Theory today. It's gonna be a pretty condensed stream. Not condensed, specific stream. That's what I was going for. There's not a lot of content here, so we're going to have to go a lot deeper than you usually would for something like demographic transition model, where you have this big thing to cover. We're going to be going much more in depth into the facets of Malthusian theory and the guy who made it. I'm going to wait till that clock says 4:01, and I'm going to start going. I think it's like 10 seconds ahead. We're just going to let that go. Oh, 4:01. Maybe a bit more than 10 seconds ahead. Probably. That's fine. We're gonna start going. If they're here, they're here. Oh, whoa, we got people. This has never happened before. What's up? Anyone new to Fiveable? Need me to tell them anything? How you guys doing? Just in chat. See what's all going on before I start. We got 4 people here. This is like a new record for me. This is incredible. This is my peak. This is the absolute tip of my career. It's all downhill from here. We broke the record again. We're just stacking it on top of each other. I might be the most successful person on Earth. For like a day, I'm going to go bankrupt tomorrow. I'm not seeing much in chat. The day is going, and you know what? I can accept that. So we're just going to start rolling. We're doing Malthusian theory, as I said. Before we start going, a mandatory advertisement of Fiveable. Follow them on social media. It's at Think Fiveable. They have an Instagram, they have a Twitter, they have a YouTube. If you're taking an AP class, it's good stuff. They have a whole bunch of AP classes, not just human geography. It's good for everything. Follow it. It's epic. We're next one. We got this cool little table of contents. We're going to start out pre-stream knowledge, get a base where you guys are at. If I need to backtrack a little bit and explain some more basic concepts, if you guys are further ahead and I can, speed through some more basic things. We're going to go through population density and carrying capacity because those are very important to the theory that we're going to be over. We're going to go to Thomas Malthus. Obviously, if you want to understand the theory, not understand theory, if you want to look really good on the AP test when they ask an FRQ about it, you're going to want to know about Thomas Malthus. You get such a massive one-up over the guy next to you because he doesn't know about Thomas Malthus, but you do. And the guy reading your FRQ and he's scoring, he's going to say, this guy knows about Thomas Malthus, and he's not even going to read it. He's just going to say you got all the points. Then we're going to actually go over his theory, followed by the context of the theory, why it was written, and why it hasn't come to pass yet. This great thing that he said was going to happen, didn't happen. And then we're going to go over Neo-Malthusians, the guys who think that theory is pretty cool. It's going to happen. We're going to do practice, mainly comparison of pre-stream knowledge, see if I did anything useful all over the entire stream. And we're going to do an open Q&A. That's what you guys have been seeing in your classes over the past week. What streams you want to see moving forward. Pre-stream knowledge. All right. So we got one question, or the first question. We have 3 questions. It's not that bad. And obviously, if you get one wrong, no one cares. It's not bad. But how did Malthus claim that the food production of Earth was growing? It's the first one. And how does population grow as well? Because they were distinctly different in his theory. If no one goes in chat, I can just give the answer. I can get it. But I'm obviously going to give the little time space answer now if you're going to answer, just for practice sake. We got, is that someone new or is it refreshed? All right, it's just refreshing. Chat's really quiet. This is weird. I don't know if I did something wrong because I'm not seeing chat move at all. And if I refresh this, my stream might just die. Is chat working? Chat. All right, thank you, Jordan. Chat works. This is a massive revelation. This is incredible. I feel so comforted. I'm just going to pop forward with the answers because it doesn't look like anyone's particularly jumping forward to answer it. You guys don't need to practice. But for anyone watching the VOD with your Vimeo account, has got the premium and all that stuff, Thomas Malthus, obviously, he claimed that food production was growing arithmetically and population was growing, oh my God, I forget the word. Exponentially. That's the word I was looking for. Exponentially. Second question, what country acted as the most prominent example of Malthus' prediction coming true? There was one country in particular that you're really looking for this. I'm not expecting chat to really jump forward. You guys certainly seem confident in yourselves, do that. I'll just get the VOD seconds ago. If you're in the VOD, pause right now. I really hope you enjoyed that VOD. The country you're looking for here is India. India was a really good example because people starved a lot, and he said, yeah, India's gone. We should let them starve. Thank you, Thomas Malthus. Very cool. That was a hot take right there. What were some measures Malthus suggested implementing to limit population growth? This is a bit further ahead. I really don't remember the schedule for DTM Geography. I don't know if you guys have gotten to this one because it's sort of the end of his theory. But if you're watching the VOD, this is where you would pause the video. Well, you had a really good think about that one, VOD. There were some very cool ideas there, and I'm really glad you got those up. So what we're looking here is forced sterilization is a pretty big one, and that's like the main one. And he also just kind of decided to leave the people who were going to starve to do so there wouldn't be as much people and food production wouldn't have to be as high. Now we're starting. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, wow, that was cool. Now we're gonna get into like the actual lesson. The pop quiz is over. It's ended. It's all gone. All right. Stream's still working. That's pretty cool. Population density. What is that? I apologize. I'm feeling under the weather, to say the least. For the third time, we're moving past the little quiz thing. Population density and carrying capacity. These are some basic things you're going to want to know to understand the theory, so we're going to have to go over them. Population density, you're looking at three different kinds to say. There's arithmetic density. That's the total number of people in the region that you're looking at over the total square kilometers that's of land that's encased in the region. This is going to just be useful pretty much explicitly for saying how much room people have to live. Sometimes these will correlate, sometimes not, because sometimes you'll have a country like India, they've got very high arithmetic density in some parts. They also have very high agricultural density. Sometimes they won't. There will be there will be almost no arable land, and the other things will be really high. And this will be pretty all right. People have a lot of space to live. It changes. Second one, agricultural density. You're cutting out the majority of the people here in most cases. You're just doing farmers. Oh, we got another person here. Oh, I'm breaking so many records. I don't know what I did. I should do it more. What's up, all the guys and girls? What's pop others? How you doing? For new people in chat, if you need me to go back over anything, just tell me. I can pop back. It's not too bad. I have time. Second one, agricultural density, like I said, cut out most population, it's farmers over total square kilometers of arable land. If you don't know what arable land is, it's land that can be used for growing crops. If you put a seed in it, you can reasonably expect that something's going to grow from the seed instead of you just having a sad dead seed in the ground that you can cry over or pop it in your mouth and just see what happens. But you're not going to get much use out of it unless it's planted in arable land. Oh wait, I know who this person is. What's up? August Harvey. How you doing? Physiological density. That's the total number of people over the square kilometers of arable land in a region. While the last one might tell you, in most cases, the limit of agricultural production, let's say look at Netherlands, because they just stopped caring at some point, and they're tiny, and they're like the second highest output, something like that, of crops. It's really weird. But for the most part, agricultural density is going to tell you how much food they can put out. Physiological density is going to tell you the strain on agriculture, how much they need to put out, or how hard they have to try to put it out to make sure someone doesn't die of starvation. Or it's going to tell you, yeah, they're dying of starvation. Whoops. Moving on, carrying capacity. This is just the maximum amount of people a region can support, how many people you can have without someone having to die, because there's not enough things there to support them. If they do get more, like the carrying capacity is 300 people, I'm a pretty cool guy. I think, no, I don't care. I'm going to bring 320 people into this little park. 20 people are going to have to die. Whoops. To make sure there's enough resources for everyone. Because if we just try and do it, then 20 people are going to starve to death at the minimum. Probably more than that, because there's not going to be, you're going to have to try and disperse things, and now everyone's not getting enough. So like 30 people die, and now you have 290, and it starts racing up to 302, and then 5 people die, and it does that. So yeah, and things will affect this. Obviously, if your space is taken away, then the region can't support as many because it's a smaller region. But if a big blight sweeps through the fields and the area around the fields can't support as much, if there's a flood, sorry, but you're dead now. There's something to ask a question. What's popping? Malthusian theory. We're going to get to that. That is part of it. We're covering the very basis. So, Charlie, we're going to get to your question. That is one of them. We have to cover the basics for people who, I guess, aren't super far ahead, because I don't really know the schedule of classes. I haven't gotten anything from the tests, obviously, so I can't base a whole lot. This is a chart of carrying capacity. The one thing I don't like about this chart, you will see the blue or purple here. This is carrying capacity. This isn't what it does. The carrying capacity doesn't go up with population. I think what this is trying to do is it's trying to show the change with industrialization and our ability to farm. But normally what you're going to see is just a flat line. This is the maximum it can take. I guess there's a sort of justification for raising it as we develop, but normally you're just not going to see that. And it kind of looks like the population is what's bringing it up, and I don't like that very much. Overshoot, it's just, if you go over it, someone has to die to bring you under it. If you go under it, you might shoot over again, and someone's going to die, and it's going to happen, and it's not a good time. Moving on, Thomas Malthus. If you want to understand the theory, or not, if you want to do good on the test, if you don't remember this, you're going to get an A in the class if you remember everything else, because this is never brought up in the class. If you get an FRQ on this, you're going to want to know this, because the guy next to you is on the same base. If you don't know this, you can do the same things. If you know this, you can blow the FRQ grader away. He will be astonished by your sheer intelligence. He'll be memorized. India's sanitation crisis is just natural selection. So I'm gonna do this. So there is a question. I guess it's sort of on topic. I'll accept this. What do you say that India's sanitation crisis is just natural selection countering the full effect of overpopulation? Now, I would say that a lot of the basic, environmental factors like overpopulation, you got to realize that humans have advanced to a certain point where we can just kind of say, I don't care, to what the environment says to us. There is a point where the environment can push back, but for overpopulation, we just kind of say, I don't care. So I wouldn't say it's due to overpopulation, but it's also due to a lack of, I guess, capital to counter it, because we could support that many people. We would just need the capital to build systems. So I wouldn't put it under natural selection, obviously, because it's not really pushing a species forward through evolution, and that's what natural selection is. When I say it's an effect of overpopulation, to an extent, yes, but I would also say it's a lack of capital. I don't really know if I'll put that one in the stream because it's not very on topic. I might pop it in there, but there's your question answered. At least from my point of view, I didn't really think it through. If it's stupid and it sounds stupid, it's probably stupid. But the question was all right. I can accept that kind of. Whoa, we hit 7. What's happening? What did I do? Who's new? All right. What's up, Ad Nelson? How you doing? You having a nice day? I hope so. I didn't close that. There we go. Now I can do this again. Thomas Malthus. All right. Do something. Hey man, 33% is like on amount. If you can be better than 33% of people at everything, you'd be pretty good. You'd be pretty set. So there's an extensive justification for it. Thomas Malthus, when he was a small boy, people laughed at him because his toes were together. He had webbed feet. His toes. And this kind of led to him being a proponent of eugenics, and that was kind of controversial. That's still kind of controversial. Thomas Malthus has a theme of being a controversial guy. Later he went on, he would become a demographer. He was later considered an economist, but way before that he was a demographer. He rose to prominence through a very important thing that established the entire Malthusian theory, a little thing called an essay on the principle of population. That was written in 1798. I'm gonna be real with you, I didn't know I know that I thought it was written in the 1800s. I was very mistaken. 1798. That's a date right there. It questions how population and the way population grew and economy grew affected the economy. He was also a founding member of the Political Economy Club, and he was a university teacher. I'm pretty sure students called him the Webfoot teacher, and that's something. But his observation, these are what are really important. In his little wacky essay right there, he noted that whenever an abundance of food or of anything, whenever a surplus is produced, population will grow. So that means that if I have 10 people and I produce enough food where each people gets double what they need to just live, and they're pretty pleased with it. They're like, I don't know, sipping luxury drink, Diet Pepsi, and they're having a grand time. What will happen is 10 new people will appear through reproduction, and now there is no Diet Pepsi. They have no luxury. They're having an awful time. Quality of life has stayed the same. They're sitting back having a terrible day, munching diet bread. And that's not what you want. He called this thing the Malthusian trap. Every time quality of life tried to improve, people said no and had children. He also noted that because of this, he didn't think the utopian society was obtainable. Utopia was a very popular concept at the time, and he said, I don't care. It's not going to happen. Your dreams have been shattered by me. I shattered. They're gone. Bunch of these 90s findings in 1798, as I said, essay on the population, or principle of population. Malthusian theory. We're here. We reached it. We reached his theory. That's a bit of a theory moment. Anyone need me to go back on anything, or do you think you're ready to push into the theory and all little aspects of that? We got 6 people here still. I'm more than happy with that. 12 people registered. That's pretty cool. My record of registers is like 5 before this. This is epic. No one seems to need me to go back. We're pushing the Malthusian theory. The main principle of the theory that was adopted, this is very, very popular during the 1900s, late 1800s, was that human population is going to outgrow food production. And if there's more people than there are food, you've gone over your carrying capacity, people are going to die. He said this because he was seeing population begin to grow up unchecked, and food production was just sitting there. It was kind of just plodding along. It wasn't doing much. It was being kind of lazy. So population was catching up to food at what he saw as a very alarming rate. And when population went over food production, something called a Malthusian crisis would occur, and everyone would get sick and die until population went under food production. And he thought that it would just kind of and that's what population would do. And that would not be very cool because it would mean a lot of people starve to death. Impacts of what would happen, obviously, widespread famine and disease, as I said, and then solutions he proposed. Now, this disease he would probably take place in the most part in Southern and Southeastern Asia. Obviously, would be more of a widespread, like, global thing. But what he was saying is, Asia's dead. Asia's not having a great time. He pointed them out as just being kind of, they've already ran the course. They're already about to jump over their food production and die. And he thought that's going to keep happening. Obviously, if it's going to spread to everywhere, it's going to happen there, but it's going to happen a lot right there. They're going to die like crazy, and they're going to shoot back up, and they're going to die like, it's going to not be very cool. This is called a population bomb as well. This is called a population bomb. What they thought was the fuse was growing instead of shrinking, but this is a bomb. The fuse is going over here. This is food production bomb, and it's going to hit this, and it's going to explode, and everyone's going to die. I'm going to get influenza and drop dead in the street, and I'm not going to be very pleased about it, to be frank. Solutions. Forced sterilization. Now, this isn't a very cool idea. This isn't what we would generally say. I'm a big fan of forced sterilization. That's just not what we do. But he saw this as necessary. He thought they should run over to India and say, you're not having children, and then make sure he didn't have children. I'm not sure I understand your question, Charlie. Oh, I got two. I guess one got removed. I don't get it. All right, we got two questions. I'll see what's going on here. Thing is that technology advances and accounts for human. All right, very good question from August, and we're going to get to that. That is like the two sections away. Obviously, why this didn't happen. It's a lot of, yes, human technology that's accounting for the population increase. Oh, for legal reasons. Yeah. Yeah. I would answer this question now, but this is what we're going to do. One child part. Still the one child solution. Yeah, I'll go for this one. The one child policy definitely took a lot of, I'll say, inspiration from him, because the entire idea was we can't support this many people. So yeah, you're not allowed to have children after one. They wanted the population to either stop growing or shrink to a point. It was also just kind of a way for the government to make money, because if you're going to have children, pay up. So yeah, there was definitely that can definitely be considered a part of his solution, but obviously didn't have anything to do with it. It was more of a Chinese idea. It took a lot of inspiration from it, I would say. I wouldn't quote me on that. They directly heard Thomas Malthus is this cool European guy, and I want to be like him. And then they said, stop making children. But you can definitely make a connection between the two. And if you don't directly say they were inspired by him directly, then you can get away with it, like on an AP test, gladly. They'll think you're incredibly smart. You can do a lot of little tricks, just make them think you're incredibly smart. AP tests are cool. It's a bit of a psychology test as well. Just how weird can I go? Obviously, as I said, India is gone in his eyes, and should be allowed to just do the little loop and see what happens. Population pyramids, you guys should be familiar with this. What you kind of thought was going to happen, because I just figured this would be important just for visualizing. Imagine this on steroids, sort of. Obviously, if the population is growing rather quickly, there's going to have to be a lot of children. So you're just going to you're going to bring these way out, and everyone's going to die. There's going to be like no one up here because they all died of disease. They can't get food to sustain themselves that old. And there's going to be an incredible amount of children that just die incredibly fast because there's no food to sustain them as a child, and they're going to get sick and die. It might stabilize like here for a little bit, and then it just not a very fun time, all in all. This little thing, this is what he thought was going to happen. This is food production. As you can see, it's growing very steadily, not very fast. More than fast enough to deal with what was going on, what they thought was going to happen. This has been going on for like forever. Ever since the universe was created, humans grew at this rate, and food grew faster than that. This is not to scale at all. I couldn't find the picture I was looking for that illustrated this incredibly well. I don't know why, because that picture should really be readily available, because it's a good picture. Oh, 3 questions. What are we going for here? How do I do that? Hold up, I just found something. How do I do that? Oh yeah, let me pop that out. Your question's fine, August. I'm not saying like this is against the rules. I'm just saying this is about to be covered in this lesson. So yeah, you're fine. There we go. Oh, there we go. I don't know how to work this thing too good. All right, as you can see, for any of you visual learners out here, right, this just sort of started peeking up, and he thought it was going to go right here, and right here, everyone's going to die, and it's going to eat more like that, and it's not going to be a good time. This is just going to kind of keep doing that forever. That's not what you want. Context of this theory. Another one of these little charts. He lived in a time where food production was still growing at the same rate that it always had ever since he knew it. Obviously, it grew slower before. It's growing with the people now. But the people started to do something different because you had all these advancements that let more people be alive for what he thought was a brief second. And the population was just starting to get to this. He saw the very beginnings of it. And obviously, if this continued, he would arrive at Malthusian crisis. Hold up, question. Spoiler alert, we don't die. You make an incredibly good point, August. I'm not dead yet. We'll be covering yet later, but yeah, I can agree with that. We do, in fact, not die. Yeah, as I said, population was growing at what had never been seen before. It was beginning to just, I guess, expound upon itself. I don't think that's the right word. But if 2 people are born, they're going to make 4 people, and they're going to make 8. And it's going to go really awfully for everyone else eventually, because agriculture advancements stagnated. There was, some cool advancements maybe a bit before, and then they stopped. They said no. And suddenly you're at the same place again. Nothing's being made as far as agriculture, not agriculture, but still, nothing new is happening in that field. A lot of new people are happening. So humanity's nearing the carrying capacity of Earth. That's not what you'd like to see. Already see the place. This is India. That's not what you want to look like. That's like not the end goal. Famines were going very common in places like that. Like you look at the Dark Ages, everyone's dying in Europe because there's no food. It's not because of I guess you could say it's because of overpopulation. But now we're seeing that in Asia a whole lot, just because of the sheer amount of people. Oh, questions? Didn't Brazil go through this? I'm gonna be really real with you. I don't know. For Jasmine asked if Brazil went through a Malthusian crisis like India did. I would answer the question. If anyone in chat knows, please go ahead and tell, because I don't know this one at all. I never heard about it, but I didn't hear about a lot of things, so it could have very well happened. But I'm not the one to answer that. I would say I wouldn't be surprised. And if you heard about it, like from any sort of source, it's probably true, because it sounds like it could very well have happened. Theory was mistaken. This wacky thing called the Green Revolution. This really started picking up in the 1900s because instead of population doing and they're like, well, let's go faster. Population said you, and everyone freaked out because food production was still doing the little thing. It wasn't doing very much. Obviously, it wasn't nearly as close to 1798 as I pointed out in the graphs. That was very much an exaggeration for just getting the point across. But now it was going to happen. Population's just a straight line. I don't know what's happening here, but food's not going up. Food's doing it's doing a little jittery thing. I don't like that. Oh, and then the Green Revolution happened. This was just massive across the board advancements in agriculture. You had new ways to grow things. You had new tools to do it. It was very cool. It's occurred 1950 to the late 1960s. And you normally see this was very big in developing countries. This just exploded their agricultural sector as we're developing countries. They're like, oh, it's pretty cool. It's a little boost. These guys just bam out of nowhere. They just happened. It was pretty cool for them. And now food production wasn't growing just straight arithmetically. Food production did this and then went, yoop. I'm pretty sure I have this. Food production's just doing this little thing. Population's catching up with it. Oh no, food production, look out. Look behind you. It's population. Oh no, he has AirPods in. And then he takes the AirPods out. Whoop, boop, boop. And this is obviously not a very accurate graph. This isn't what human population looks like. This is to get the point across. This just shot up. This was incredible for humanity and population. Well, they did their thing. Am I moving on to the next thing? All right. No, I'm not moving on to the next thing yet, because there is a point I know I forgot to put in here that I need to talk on about the demographic transition model and why it failed. But yeah, obviously, Green Revolution, food production was so much more efficient because you could breed these plants. This is the next one. All right, this is in the next one. We really saw the Green Revolution just take hold and absolutely revolutionize Latin America, South America, and Asia. And obviously, Asia is where the big problem was. He said India's gone. There's nothing we can do to help India. Let's just watch, maybe grab some popcorn and laugh. And then, rice happened. And this failed hardcore in Africa. They didn't get much of anything from it. And the reason it failed in Africa was largely due to an inability to invest the capital needed to like get this, because a lot of this is a lot more expensive than just, like, oh, I got a new spade. Oh, I have a new hammer. No, this is, I need a new, I don't know, big old tractor that has wings on it, and it grabs the seeds with a tail made of fire, and it throws them 8 miles across, and it costs your entire life savings. And they didn't have the ability to invest in that, and if you can't invest in it, you can't get the returns in it. So you just kind of have to sit there and watch everyone else have a nice time. Seeing the questions, there's a little bit of breakpoint. Happens to European countries because would this probably happen to you? August Harvey asks, Hammer, the answer is yes. Would this happen to European countries because some people are migrating to them? Now, let me read this for this. Also, would this probably happen to European countries because so many people are migrating to them? I'm not 100% sure what this means. If you mean modern days, then I wouldn't say so because we're so far advanced. If you mean in ye olden days, then this was definitely a fear when the theory was crafted, that this would be a widespread thing. And during the 1900s, they kind of thought that this is going to spread everywhere. The population bomb was definitely a big thing. So I would say that the idea was there that this would happen in European countries, in the United States and Canada. But would it happen? It really depends. If everyone moved there suddenly, and then the entire population of South America was in the United States, yeah, it would happen there. But there's also alternate scenarios where they just say, yeah, you're not coming in, and then it doesn't happen there, and it's fine for them. You can't say for certain, but the idea was there. The fear was there. Everyone thought it was going to happen in European countries in North America. So if that answers your question, there you go. If it doesn't answer your question, I'm sorry. Let me remove Brazil, just because I don't know. Cornman asks, when do we get to the part about corn? I like to think that every part is about corn, because I live and breathe corn. Corn is all I do. If that answers your question, you're welcome. If it doesn't answer your question, you're welcome. Technologies that were associated with the Green Revolution. There was a little bit of a doozy of them. This was pretty cool for everyone involved. You had a very widespread adoption and advancement in mechanization. This meant that farming was a lot more capital intensive for the areas that chose to adopt this. Capital intensive, of course, means that you don't need a lot of manpower, you need a lot of money. It answers it. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Cornman. I'm glad I could do a service to the corn peoples. And obviously, if you need more money and less manpower, that meant you don't need 5 people on this plot of land. If I can get one guy in a pretty nice tractor to do it. So yeah, it really just exploded the amount of work one guy could do. It's like the cotton gin, but with less slavery involved. Interbreeding crops. This was probably the biggest thing, I would argue, because interbreeding crops has sort of gotten us to the crazy amount of production we have right now. You would just take 2 crops that have things you want, and you would combine them, and now you have a really cool crop. This crop is probably the greatest thing I've ever seen. This wheat is really short and easy to harvest. This wheat makes just a stupid amount of wheat. This is so much wheat. This corn, this is the cob on this corn is massive. This cob is the size of me. I could ride like this cob into town with some wheels on it, and I could pick up more corn. This corn over here is really resilient to disease. This corn won't die. I fought this corn hand on hand with a knife, and it beat me. I'm dead now, and the corn is fine. If we breed these 2 corns together, this corn that we've produced is a super corn. This corn can destroy all other corn produced before it and all other forms of vegetation. It is a massive corn that won't die. It could stomp your city out just like with one kernel, and you can't do anything about it. You can shove, corn blight at it. I don't know any corn diseases. And it would shrug off the corn blight. It would say, no, I'm not going to die. And what are you going to do when corn tells you it's not going to die? Nothing. You're going to cry, and the corn's going to get you. Widespread use of fertilizers and pesticides. Obviously, that's pretty self-explanatory. If you put a fertilizer in your dirt, then your crops are going to grow better because there's more nutrients there. Put pesticides on your crops, they're going to die less because, fungicide, fungal infections are gone. Pesticide, the insects that are eating your crops, they are gone. That sort of thing. It just makes the problems go away. And that's what you like to see. Oh, we got a question. Let's see what the question is. The ways humans are making things change. Oh, yes, the DTM. I'm going to speak about that. I'll do this as a question because it's not in the slides. August Harvey asks about where the DTM comes into this, because I did forget to put this into the slides while we're talking about why this didn't work. Yes, demographic transition model. Obviously, when he did this, we were starting to see exponential growth. And when we look at demographic transition model, you will see that as death rates start to fall, birth rates stay the same, and the population has to shoot up because of that. But once you move past stage 2 and 3, then the population growth starts to slow down, the birth rates start to drop while the death rate stays the same. So it could be said, and I think it would be very accurate to be said, that this exponential population growth he was so terrified of was a temporary thing, because obviously as you move forward, the population growth is going to slow. And if your population growth is slowing, it isn't growing exponentially, is it? And if presumably your agricultural production is not slowing down, I would certainly hope not, it's growing arithmetically, then it can, and it's can do its thing, because population can only go so fast for so long. And food production is eternal. You can't get rid of food production. I've tried. The food production won. Neo-Malthusians. I'm sure you know what Neo is. Someone used to do this. Now I do it. Malthusian Theory. We're all going to die. Neo-Malthusians, modern advocates of Malthus's ideas. So they think that somewhere down the line, we're still going to exceed the carrying capacity of Earth and die a terrible, horrible death. Famine. Ow, no food. And these guys, they're gonna believe in population control programs because of that. Because if they think population's gonna run away, they're gonna say, why don't we just make it stop? And if we make it stop, we win. We beat population. These are much less extreme population control programs than what Malthus had in mind, because he just said, yeah, you're no longer allowed to have children. Real sorry about that, but, I had to do it. There was no other way. They're more advocates for preventative birth control and that kind of stuff, that you can just, don't have children, maybe. Someone's got to do it. Hey, look. That was taken out of context. And that's all I'm going to say about that. All but the corn man will be gone. You know what? The corn man is eternal. He won't leave. He's been in my house for 3 days. Yeah, they're pretty chill. I'd say. They say we're all going to die. But they also don't say, your birthing rights, hand them over. Practice. It's pop quiz time. I just love a good pop quiz. They're my favorite. But instead, here's 2 questions. Yeah, I answered that, and that was in the lesson, so. How do you tell CBR, CDR, and infant mortality rate is on the DTM? All right, that's a fair question. All right, so, and mortality rate? They're sort of, Jasmine asks, how do you tell what the crude birth rate, crude death rate, and infant mortality rate is on the DTM? So the crude birth rate and crude death rate are just going to be 2 lines. The way you're going to tell them apart is the crude death rate is the one that falls first. So you're going to have 2 lines that are just sort of doing this. And then one of them's going to plummet. He's gonna go for a little trip. He's going to trip and fall down the stairs, and ow. So that's the crude death rate. The crude death rate falls first because there's advancements in food. People are going to have enough food to live. Their immune systems are going to get stronger. There's advancements in medicine, all that crazy stuff. The crude birth rate then is the one that falls second because essentially people just decide it's not economically viable to have children, or I'm just not feeling it. I'm not going to have kids, which you don't really see until society is developed. Infant mortality rate is not on the demographic transition model. Maybe it's on some version that I haven't seen before, but I've certainly never seen it on a demographic transition model. There is a growth rate, and that's just the space between the crude death rate and the crude birth rate. That's telling you how fast population is growing. And then when you get to stage 5, which is sort of the iffy stage, does it exist? Then what you will see is that crude birth rate is the one that's falling. It's not doing that, and then crude death rate goes down. It's crude birth rate that goes through it, and suddenly you have negative population growth. Obviously, if your birth rate, not particularly obviously, if your crude birth rate is on the bottom, that means that the growth rate, space between them, now becomes negative. Finally, Mark, you taught me more than my geography teacher last year. You can just retake the exam. You should just watch all of my streams and then retake the exam. And then when they give you the check back, give me the check back, please. I need money. All right, slide time. Practice. Playing this game called. Hey man, I'm something of a pro. I'm pretty good at the game. Thomas Malthus predictions not come true. Yeah, this is. If I'm gonna throw it in chat if you guys want to answer it. If not, I'll just give the VOD some time because it's gonna get posted at some point. But yeah, this is good for practice, good for engagement. What caused Malthus' predictions not come true? What events? There are a couple of right answers here. There's one real obvious one that they're gonna expect you to give. If you can give the other one, it'll be pretty cool. But you're gonna want to combine them if you try to give one on like an exam, per se. I'm gonna give the VOD a second. I'm gonna see who's still watching. Because we have fallen. I don't know if it's new people though. It's all the same people. That's good. That's cool. It's never happened before. Oh, yo, can I like? Nah, that's not a good idea. I'm just gonna do polls, but I don't think I could do it. Very good for these. All right, I'm not seeing much in the chat. If the chat doesn't want to answer, the chat is spoken. What am I supposed to do? I can't fight the chat. They're too far away. Guys on the VOD, I hope you have your answer. The cornman caused Malthus' predictions to not come true. I'll accept it. I'll accept the answer. Other answers do include the Green Revolution. Obviously, the Green Revolution caused the big old spike in food production. Food production said, I'm about to head out. And then it did. It really zoomed up there. It climbed the ladder, and it didn't even fall down. What a hunk. The other one was movement along the demographic transition model, as Harvey brought up, and I almost forgot to bring up. Oh, question. I'll explain this first. Yeah, demographic transition model, the birth or growth rate, I would say, just shoots up at the beginning, and that's what Thomas Malthus was seeing. Thomas Robert Malthus. And he said, oh no, we're going to die. And then everyone in 1900 said, oh wow, that's a straight line. We're gone. There's nothing you can do about it. But then you move forward, and it just, oh, my microphone. Sorry if that made a terrible noise. The growth rate kind of heads down. It falls. It takes a trip, a little road trip. It goes down a hill. It skateboards down the hill at an incredibly fast rate because the birth rate suddenly plummets. All right, that's the question. We have a question here. But would Malthus subscribe to these smug? Now, I can't speak much on the Smug Scribbles YouTube channel, but I can say it sounds like a very quality production. I don't know if anyone in the VOD's going to want to see this, so I'm going to have to just take the question out, very unfortunately. It does break my heart to take out the Smug Scribbles YouTube channel, but I think Thomas Malthus would not be the kind of guy to subscribe to the Smug Scribbles YouTube channel. I don't think he would. He's too cold-hearted. He's not a very big fan of the Smug Scribbles YouTube channel. The next question is, what were the major advancements of the Green Revolution? we discussed the effects of it in the last question. We discussed the effects and advancements of it, obviously, earlier in the stream. So just see if I got anything done in the chat. And for the VOD people to do some practice. Hey, what's up, VOD people? Yeah, I'm talking to you. No, I'm not talking to you. And that's what you like to see. I'm going to give, obviously, the chat, they always need their time, a short amount of time to see if the chat is interested, if the chat takes the bait. I'm getting corn links. I mean, it's corn, but yeah, it's corn. Stage 155. That's an incredibly good question, and I will do it right after this one. We have a question, and they ask a question. I'm going to answer it right after this. But for the major advances of the Green Revolution, which are the advancement and widespread adoption of mechanization in farming, you're looking at the hybridization of plants. This plant go with this plant, make good plant. What a cool plant. And you see the advancement and widespread adoption of pesticides, fungicides, all of that wacky stuff. And fertilizers, of course. Moving on to this, I like this question. All right. What would conditions be like in a stage 1 to 5 of a population pyramid, and how would they affect the economy? This is asked by Jasmine. Now, when you're in stage 1, you would see a very wide base, like just inconceivably. It's just massive because the birth rates are at their highest there, and they're just mixing with the death rates. So it's going to close in extremely fast. You're going to have this very wide base, and then just kind of whoop, and very fast. It's going to look sort of like stage 2, but smaller, I would say, and with a wider base. Steeper is the word. Steeper? No, shallower. Shallower is what I'm looking for. I'm doing a really good job, all right? Yeah, you're going to see a very wide base and then a very shallow triangle that just kind of bumps into it. A pair. Chat's given me a pair, and my opinion on this is a pair, but move on with question. Stage 2, it's what we saw earlier in the stream. I'll pop back to it for anyone watching the VOD because they haven't seen it, maybe. They might have skipped around. And that was a foolish mistake, Mr. VOD. You should watch the whole stream. When you're looking at stage 2, you're going to be looking at something like this. It's a wide base, and then it curves up, and it's because, you know, people die quite fast. They're not going to live too long for the most part, and people are being born they're being born at around the same rate as they were before. They're dying slower, but not incredibly much so. They're still pretty high death rates relative to what we have now, but compared to before, like, they're nothing. People are immortal compared to stage 1. Now it's doing pretty good. You got this. People are living up here. It's still a pretty wide base. Moving on to stage 3, you're going to see a much straighter. Where am I going? I went all the way through. I was trying to get to the question, and somehow I just zoomed all the way past. Moving to stage 3, you're going to begin to see a triangle stabilize. You're going to have a smaller base, much smaller. Not like tiny yet. But you're going to have a smaller base, and it's gonna go up. It's going to go up quite high. It's going to be quite a steep triangle. And it's going to be you might have like boomer, you might have that in stage 3, but probably not, or you just see a whole lot of babies born and they stop being born because the birth rate is plummeting. And that's going to look like you have a triangle and then a lump in the triangle, and then it goes back. For the most part, you're going to see a very stable triangle in there. When you go into stage 4, you're gonna start to see a rectangle forming. There's probably going to be remnants of stage 3 in your rectangle, so it's going to look like, or not quite. It's going to be like a rectangle that someone punched. It's going to be going in, and it's going to go on, notably faster because of the remnants of stage 3. And then after that, once you go to stage 5, because now you have, rather steep, quite similar rectangle, because obviously the birth rates are very small and death rates are very small. No one's being born, no one's dying. And they're not really changing. Once you get to stage 5, you're going to start to see something that's, very frightening for everyone in the country, where the triangle goes from being a triangle where The people on the bottom can support the people on the top because they can work. You're going to start to see it, turn upside down. And that's not what you really want. And how does it affect the economy? I'll go through economy after, obviously, birth rates have gone lower than death rates. That means less people are being born than are dying, so you're going to see your triangle start to do that until you have like this wacky little thing. Effect of the economy, stage 1, you have hunter-gatherer society. It's a pretty basic one, and you don't see anywhere on Earth. It just doesn't happen. Stage 2, you're going to see a very agriculturally based economy. You're going to be looking at Africa. For an example of that modern day, Angola, as we saw before. They're going to be very much tertiary economies. They're just getting the raw materials. They go mining and they farm, and that's what they do. That's what the economy is. Stage 3, you're going to see the beginning of like a real recognizable state that's moving up in the world. You're going to see Brazil as a modern day example of that. It's a pretty good one. South Africa. So those are what you're looking at there. They have places that are reasonably wealthy. Everyone's all right. They have access to medicine, modern medicine. Everyone has access to it, just about. That's a big breakthrough for these countries. And you're going to see these in the secondary sector. You're going to see these in the factories. They make the goods, the finished goods, whereas stage 2 countries make the raw materials. When you move on to your fourth one, the economy is going to be very primary sector. It's a lot of services. That's going to be the bulk of the economy. That's the guy who works at the register on the what's it called, the supermarket. That's the doctor. They provide a service to you, as opposed to a product to you. And you're going to see everyone lives in this nice middle class house like I do, and everyone's got access to medicine, quite well. No one has to worry about not eating anything and dying, pretty much at all. Everyone's doing pretty all right. Move to stage 5, you've got like crazy stuff. You're doing amazing economically, except for the fact that there's no children to support the old people. That's what we would call a growth of the dependent population. Is that locked? All right, a growth of the dependent population. So, dependent population is people who can't do work. Obviously, children can't do work, and very, very old, senile people cannot do work. And you're going to have to start to see, people retire later to fulfill the needs of the country. And you're going to start to see young people have to either start working earlier or start paying very big bills to support the people who have retired, because there are much more of them than there are the young people. And you're also going to see quinary and quaternary, as August just put out, economies like be real big. Quinary and quaternary are going to start in stage 4. You're going to see them start really developing. You can see in stage 3, like the beginnings of them. They're going to get big in stage 4. They're going to get big in stage 5. Primary is going to be the primary sector still. Most people are going to be working in services, but quaternary and quinary are going to be rather large once you get there. I hope that answered your question. Can we talk about how... Cornman, I can't really discuss personal political views on here. I don't want to get in trouble with my boss. So unfortunately, we cannot talk about that. Stage 1 is prominent in South America. That's not really a question. But where you see stage 1, not South, or do you say South? Yes, South America. Where you see stage 1, in case you're wondering, you're looking at Brazil. You're looking at Australia, and you're looking at Bangladesh, uncontacted tribes that are still very much in hunter-gatherer stages. It's not really a question, so I'm going to pop it out. Is healthcare being introduced? Is healthcare being introduced in stage 2 of the demographic transition model, Jasmine asks? You're going to start to see it introduced, definitely, but only at an extremely high price. Not everyone's going to have access to it. Definitely not. But is it going to be introduced? Yes. Question about this on the test. So like, oh man, that'll be a good I messed that up. All right, I'm back. Let me share my screen again. Share screen. Application window. Bring that back. There we go. I accidentally hit one of the buttons on my mouse that makes me go back a page. All right, let me see what's in chat before I keep going with the questions. I seriously just email for streams. Sector, topic. All right. What will be an example about this on the test? That's a question right there. Or my examples. Salai asks what would be an example question about this on the test. It'd be really hard to just manufacture one on the spot, but I can try based on what I got. If anyone has a really good example on just, on the whim, then please provide it. It'd be pretty cool. But what I would go with is, maybe a brief description of Malthusian theory. If you're feeling lucky, they might put that in there. They're going to ask, how did Malthusian theory impact society on the way people thought? What steps were taken to impact Malthusian theory? And you're probably going to get a question about the Green Revolution and its effects, because that's a pretty big idea. That's definitely not going to be perfect at all, but that's the closest I can get. The kind of questions I got, these were disclosed. I'm not going to get sued if I say them. It was a question about food deserts, and it asked what kind of information you'd use to identify them and the effects of food deserts living on people in them. So it would probably ask about the effects of Malthusian crisis and the effects Malthusian theory had on society and the way people functioned. I can't give you a concrete example, though. I'm sorry, Corn Man. My face can't get much bigger because I gotta share my screen. I have to do it. There's no other way. There's no other way forward. Oh, asking question one. What's the telescope behind me on? His telescope behind me? He's watching the stars. The stars in my ceiling. All right, moving on. Moving along here. We're gonna do it. What's my time at? All right. I'm not expecting too much from chat. They seem pretty content in their place. I'm gonna give the VOD guys, their time to answer it. Their time to do what they feel like doing. But define carrying capacity, and what are some factors that impact a region's carrying capacity? Hey, if you're watching the VOD and you want to give it a good thunk, you should pause it right now. I really hope you enjoyed that good thunk. All right. So the definition of carrying capacity would be something along the lines of the maximum amount of individuals a region can support. That's not too hard to get down. Factors that would impact it, it's just mainly resources, or the resource of space. If you don't have enough room to live to perform your needed functions, you're not going to make it too far. If you got to live in your poop, you're going to get sick and die. If there's food's a pretty big one. If there's not enough food, you're going to starve, get sick, or die. And die. Starve or get sick and die. And die is probably an inevitability. Water, it's a pretty big one. If you don't drink, had to do it to them. It's that sort of thing. It's just resources available to the people in the region. Oh. Solid. Yeah, Jasmine, that's a pretty solid one. They say carrying capacity is the amount of people a country can support. Country is fine to do. You might want to say region. It depends on the context of the question. Country's fine. Some factors that impact our region's carrying capacity is the amount of land, food, health-related resources. Yeah, that's all. Those are all correct. Those are all good. If they ask you to expound on it in some very meaningful way, you're just probably going to have to reiterate how each of those are going to affect someone in specific ways. But for just a basic, what is this, explain it. If you're given the question that's on the screen right now, that's very solid. That'll work extremely well. You're going to get the question right. Now this is where we're reaching the end of the stream. We're here, and I say follow at Fiveable. They're on Twitter, they're on Instagram, they're on YouTube. It's Fiveable social, it's Fiveable social media. Take an AP class. They got the stuff you need. They have all the streams on here, the links to them. They have all the resources you could ever want. You just follow. It's Fiveable. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. There's no excuse not to. recap what we did in the stream. You're gonna skip over the pop quizzes. If you need me to go back and run over anything, then I'll go back and run over it. First thing was population density and carrying capacity. We went over Thomas Malthus as a guy, his little story, and what he noted. We went over Malthusian Theory, the context of when and why it was written, and then why it didn't work. We went over that. Neo-Malthusians, those guys, they're pretty wacky. We went over those. And now we're at the open Q&A. Is this my last slide? Did they take the... No, we're at open Q&A. Antarctica varies by what organisms. All right, August Harvey, they post a reasonable statement. The carrying capacity will vary by what organism carrying. Yeah, it does mean the region of a specific organism, but no one's going to care if you don't put that. But yeah, obviously something can host more bacteria, most likely, than it can elephants, no matter what the context is. You can probably host more bacteria on it than elephants. Open Q&A. This is just... what have you guys been going over in your classes that you didn't get? What do you want to see streams on in the future? What do you think we could cover that your teacher didn't cover? Anything like that. We're here. We can edit the stream schedule. We can make sure someone does something that would have been left out if you don't say it. It's just what you guys need. Oh, we got a question here. What are the different types of migration? I'm going to have to... Jasmine, just in the chat. Do you mean migration models, or do you mean like diffusion? Because I'm not 100% on what you mean there, so I can't answer the question good. Sometimes you migrate without permission tending to be. Well, let me. All right, chat's being still. Let me read this. I'm not 100% sure on what the second question means, but I can't do political takes in here. So, I mean, I can't do political takes in here. I'm going to have to delete that one. It's just not something I'm allowed to do, I'm fairly sure. So, I got to just cut them out. Different types of migration, I do need this clarification. I'm back. That's epic. Let me share my screen. Save that. There we go. Now I'm back for real. That's crazy. All right. So here we are. I can answer the question now. All right. Looks like August is going. See you later, August. Yeah. So forced migration is you're going over there whether you like it or not. International migration. That's I'm in China. I'm about to hop over to I don't know. France, sort of like internal migration, but it's with regions. I'm moving from the Great Plateau to the not so great plateau. I don't know, Sahara Desert to sub-Saharan Africa, something like that. It can be different areas within different regions within a state. Obviously, I can move from the Appalachian Mountains to somewhere else. It's just moving from one, distinct area to another distinct area. Whereas interregional is just I'm moving. I didn't leave my country. International is I'm moving. I left my country. Forced is yeah, you're going over there. I don't care. Looks like that's everything. No one had anything they didn't get in their class, it would seem. So that's pretty all right. I'm gonna pop the stream off then if I remember how to do so. Is it? Oh, that's how you do it. All right. Hope you guys enjoy your night. Well, is this it? This is not it. Oh, quota laws. That's a question right there. Quota laws. I don't know. Quota. Presumably, it means that you must meet a certain quota. Let me get in a better spot if I'm not having that on. Presumably, it means to be getting a better quota. I'm just working off the words here. I don't know what it means very good. I would assume it's for like a factory worker or something. You got to make this many Hello Kitty toys a day. But don't call me on that at all, because I've never heard of quota laws in my life. Really slow, real quick. What kind of trap am I being put into by saying Corn Man really slow? I will fulfill the request of saying Corn Man. For I'm a pretty big fan of corn. Internally displaced people, that means I'm living in the nice town of Westbrook, Ohio. I made that up. I don't know if that exists. I think that exists. And then it gets bombed. Westbrook, Ohio was gone. I go to Eastbrook, Ohio. That's where I go to. Now I'm over there. I'm just chilling in Eastbrook, Ohio. Because I've been displaced. I would like to be in Westbrook, Ohio, but it got bombed. Or there was a big drug fight there. Like I'm in Mexico, and there's a big old drug war where I am, and I don't want to get shot, so I leave. I've been displaced by the drug war. I've been displaced by the bombing of Westbrook, Ohio. It means I would like to be somewhere, but I can't because of conditions in the area. And so I went somewhere else. I didn't stay there. Got 3 people left. It looks like it's winding down. 14 people registered for this one. This is pretty good. Let's do this. I don't know what I did, but I'm going to do it more often. Looks like that's everything. I'm going to give it like maybe 30 seconds, see if anything else. Push and pull factors. All right, yeah, I can do that. Push factors. That is something that makes you want to leave an area. Something that would make you an internally displaced person. If your town is in the center of a pretty big drug war, then you don't want to stay there. It's pushing you away. It makes you want to leave your town. If your country is going through a civil war, it makes you want to leave the country so you don't die or you don't have to pay the taxes for the war. You can go somewhere with an economy. Pull factor is something that makes you want to go somewhere else. The U.S. has this amazing economy, and it's so easy to get a job. And where I am, it's so hard to get a job. Our economy is pretty not that good. So I go over to the U.S. It's very alluring. There's a lot of freedom in the U.S., and I live under a totalitarian state. I go to the U.S., it looks pretty inviting. While living under a totalitarian state would be a push factor. I don't want to do that. What do baby booms look like on a population pyramid? You got your nice triangle, right? Your triangle's doing its triangle thing, but it's like, and then it probably does that. It might, or it might just be a whole bump and then continue. Yeah, it just looks like there's a lump in your triangle. It might be a sudden like plateau and then it continues, or it might like do the full curve and then go on. Intervening obstacle and intervening opportunity. An intervening obstacle is something you don't want to happen. I want to go to America, but it's being blockaded by pirates that shoot everyone that goes to America. Intervening opportunity. I'm on my way to America. I got hired for a 6-figure job in Mexico. I'm not going to America anymore. I've changed my mind. Just that sort of thing. Opportunity is something good. Obstacle is something that's hindering you. Oh no, there's no planes or cars or anything. I just have me wagon. I want to go to the west coast, but there's these big mountains in the way. That's an intervening obstacle. Are older populations in stage 5? I'm not 100% on what you mean. It's not based on the population of a person, if that's what you mean. You're looking at you're just looking at the dependency ratio of a country, I would say. There's going to be more old people. You're going to have an aging population. The average population average age of the population is going to be going up, and your birth rate is going to be lower than your death rate. If older populations, older countries, then I would say no, because Africa is definitely not in stage 5. If you mean old people are in stage 5, people can't be in a specific stage. Dependency ratio is the ratio of people who cannot do work or contribute to society to the people who can do work and contribute to society. I think it's 0 years old. Everyone who's between age 0 and 17, plus everyone who's over the age of 65, under everyone else, under everyone who can do work. It basically measures the strain of the working class on supporting everyone else. Downfall of being in stage 5, it's a very hard strain on the working class because as you come up, you either have to retire very late, so there's enough money to support you in your retirement, because obviously as I work, I pay these bills to support people who are retired. Oh, that's really blurry. To support people who are retired, and one day someone's going to pay those bills to support me while I'm retired. So I either have to retire later so enough money has been built up to support me, or everyone has to pay much larger bills so enough money is put together that you can support people who have retired. And then every year it's going to go up and up because there's going to be a larger and larger amount of older people. Demographic challenges of stage 4 countries. There's nothing particularly bad about a stage 4 country. Generally, you're having a pretty good time once you're in stage 4 until you get to stage 5, because then you're having a pretty bad time. But you will start to see that there's a lack of ability to fill jobs in an economy that's growing very fast, so you have to start bringing in a lot of migrants. Sometimes you'll see that in things like the U.S. We got to bring in migrant workers to do things so we don't have enough people being born to fill jobs with a growing economy. Impacts of a large expatriate population. Well, I don't know what expatriate means. I got to be real with you. It's going to be a long one. I feel like I'm just being quizzed here, but you know what? This is a good time. Is this going to mess up the screen? That's not going to mess up. I can do this. Person who lives outside their native country. What you're going to see with a large expatriate population, I would then assume, it's just going to be a cultural enclave. You might have a large amount of centrifugal forces in the area. Because if there's a lot of people living outside their home country, they're going to be very culturally detached from the country they are living in. You might see otherwise. Centripetal forces, I'll get to that. But you might see centrifugal forces in the area, and if you say a large amount of expatriate population, you might see the country break away and form a state that's more culturally similar to the one they derived from. Or you might see the area get more autonomy. Centripetal forces, those are forces that bind a country together. They're the opposite of centrifugal. Obviously, that tears the country apart. Centripetal forces, something like the national anthem that builds shared pride in the country we're living in. National sports teams can unify people under their sports team, things like that. The Pledge of Allegiance is an example. Other things that aren't just symbolic. What is it called? Economic. Economic. Oh my God, advancement. Economic advancement. That's not the word I'm looking for, but I might have to run with it. I really don't want to. I guess I'm running with economic advancement. Yeah, if your economy is quite good, it's going to bind everyone together, because why would you want to be somewhere else if your economy is so great? Freedoms is quite good. It can bind a country together. Why would I want to do something else, to go somewhere else, to be something else if I'm so free or my economy is so good? Physiological density. I went over that earlier in the stream. I don't think you were there for it. Yeah, physiological density is the amount of people over the total square kilometers of arable land in a region. It basically tells you the strain of the agricultural producers on supporting the people. Ravenstein's laws of migration. I believe those were the ideas of. I didn't get my migration laws or theories down very well, but I think those were the ideas of. It wasn't intervening obstacles, was it? I think it was similar to gravity theory. I think, wherein people are going to be more attracted to larger areas, like a big city. They're going to want to migrate there. People migrate in chains. They move to a city pretty close to them, and they move to another one. That forms cultural enclaves in the area. There's going to be a city that's very Chinese, and another city where they move to next. It's going to form a chain of very ethnically distinct areas from the country of origin. Thank you. That's all. All right. I'm not seeing anyone else asking questions. I'm going to assume there's no more questions. Hope you all have a very nice night. That's the end of the stream. I know something else when I click this. And I'm going to have to say goodbye.